Yeah, yeah. Hello all. In this particular video, I'm just going to explain you what are all the high-level workflow basically in terms of doing an agile transformation. See now, we all know that many companies are actually embarking on this particular journey of agile transformation. So here in this particular post, I have just tried to give a high level view. Okay, from point one, from if you want to go from a point A to point B in terms of this particular agile transformation journey, probably what actually could be the path. Okay, so based on your context, as obvious, you may need to customize it. Now, before we actually get into this particular agile transformation, there are certain basic elements which we need to keep in mind. The point is, just by implementing Scrum or just by implementing Kanban or a SAFe, we actually cannot always ensure that we can actually sustain the agility. So together with the agile process orientation, we also need to focus on the organization change management and dynamics. Okay, so in this particular post, I'm just going to tell what are all the high level workflow steps to do an agile transformation, of course, based on my experience and their perspective. So the first thing is that we need to understand the business context or the driver behind this particular transformation. So, okay, this particular transformation for this particular client is actually done for what particular purpose? Is it due to improve the predictability or productivity or responsiveness or the quality, or do I need to have a faster go to market strategy, or does the teams had any kind of a quality a kind of a quality issues in the past? So understand the business driver, understand the funding model behind that particular transformation, and then try to understand the scope of that transformation. Means how many teams I am going to cover in this particular transformation umbrella, whether it is 5 teams or 50 teams, whether this particular transformation is at a product line level or at a product group level. So we may need to understand all these things before we actually jump into the transformation activity. Second thing is, do a preliminary maturity assessment. See, many people tell me we have actually just to begin the journey, then actually how I can do an assessment. See, the point is this: only when we do some kind of a baseline assessment or some kind of a preliminary assessment, we will actually come to know where are we currently, right? Because if you actually go to a doctor, before we meet the doctor, the nurse used to come and then take the vitals, right, in terms of the BP, the pulse rate, the temperature, SpO2 value. So all these are called as the vitals. So these vitals are going to give an indication of the patient's health. Similarly, at least I need to know on a high level, where am I currently, where is that my teams are doing in terms of the agile maturity index. It could be the product management, or it could be the process oriented, or it could be the team dynamics, or the cultural aspect. So it could be a number of things. At least we need to have a high level clarity on four or five parameters before before we actually begin that transformation. So I strongly recommend to do a preliminary baseline assessment just to know where are we currently. Then once you know where are you currently, then you need to define your target state. See, transformation is always a journey from point X to point Y, hoping that point Y is a better state compared to the point X. And then one more thing, once you reach the point Y, you should be able to sustain agility there. If you fall down, then basically it means you have not transformed. Right? Once a person got enlightened, it is assumed that the person will remain at that level forever. So if someone falls down, then it means that there is not a transformation. It could be a transition or some kind of an adoption. Okay. Now, once you know where are you currently and where do you want to go, you may need to define a roadmap based on the outcome-based plan. Okay, now for me to go from point X to point Y, what is the direction? What are all the business outcomes that I can what to say, cover or encapsulate in this particular journey? And now the point is, as an agile coach, I generally used to co-create a coaching plan working with the product owner, scrum master, RTA, STA, depending upon the framework. Okay, if I use a safe kind of a framework, then basically I may need to interact with the RTA, STE, the product owners or the product management group. Whereas if I'm going to do only a team level maturity assessment, then probably I may need to talk to the product owner, scrum master, team architect, release manager. So if you just go through this particular post, that is why I'm actually saying in the first point itself, factor the scope of the transformation and also understand the timelines available for you to prove the worthiness of the transformation. Because unless and until you actually create quick wins, you actually cannot secure the funding from the leadership team for you to continue the transformation. See, we actually need to understand our primary point that even transformation is getting funded, right? Unless and until someone has funded the transformation from the leadership team, then we cannot onboard people onto the trains, right? Agile release trains. So for me to secure funding, hey, what are all the quick wins? Okay, so once you are done with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then as an agile coach, you can actually create a coaching plan, or you can co-create a coaching plan working with the respective group, and then actually implement the actually execute the coaching plan. Say for example, conduct a design thinking workshop, conduct a workshop on a weighted shortest job first, conduct a system thinking workshop, conduct a user story sizing training. All these are all the coaching. See, one more point what I like to say is, though we use the word coaching in a real-time IT industry, we cannot literally only coach the team. Sometimes you may need to do consulting, mentoring, facilitation, training, teaching, coaching. It is like actually shifting the gears of the car, right? I cannot keep on driving on the same gear. So depending upon the situation, depending upon the dynamics, depending upon the vendor customer model, all these things you may need to factor and then do a mix and match. So one cannot go and then tell, hey, I'm actually doing an agile coaching, so I'll be asking only powerful questions, team need to find out the answer. Okay, literally that's not going to work out in an market segment, okay, or rather in the industry segment. So it should be a mixture of coaching, training, teaching, facilitation, mentoring, and you may need to understand what is the subtle difference among all these things. You may actually go through the agile coaching competency framework, or you can get into the IC agile coaching guidelines. There actually you can get some guidelines pertaining to the differences. Now my say is, in terms of implementing this particular coaching plan, you may need to come up with a coaching calendar and then try to tread the path. And you need to factor the feedback loops along the journey. Okay, say for example, I had done a workshop on a WSJF, weighted shortest job first. So when I participate in the team level cadences of the team with the product owner and the scrum master, I used to see, okay, how far this particular WSJF makes actually relevance, because that is the difference between a theoretical certification knowledge versus an agile practitioner. Because if you go for certification, they actually say weighted shortest job first. You can take the cost of delay, divide it by the job size or the job duration, and then what you need to do, cost of delay is equal to business value plus time criticality plus risk reduction or opportunity enablement. Perfectly fine. But had you factored the dependencies? So what we actually do in a practical sense is, first we will do a WSJF, okay, which is called a ranking or a prioritization. And once again, we will factor the dependencies and then do something called a forced rank order prioritization, also called as a sequencing. So I think that is where the difference between a certification trainer and an agile practitioner comes into the picture. Okay, so once you do all these things, then after I am actually done with a coaching plan, once again, if I do an assessment, the gap between the earlier score before coaching and after coaching is actually directly going to tell me the value of the coaching exercise. And once you are done with this, you can create a sustainability plan, so that once the coach is getting disbanded from the team, what is the guarantee that the team will continue to tread the path of agility. So once you are done with this, then probably you can create a Kaizen backlog, which is also a continuous improvement backlog, and then you can hand it over to someone in the team who is representing the coach or the scrum master, and then you can keep moving to the next team. So maybe in this particular recording, I will be sharing the URL of this particular post in the description of the video. You can just go through this post, and all these things have been practically coached by me in my Agile mentorship program, together with their real-time templates. So if in case you are actually interested to get a practical feel of all these things, probably you can actually connect with me, and let's see what is the value that I can add to you back. Okay, cheers, bye.